Hello, welcome to this introductory video for the Wise API. This will be a series of videos. In this first one, I'm just going to show you how to use the Wise API in terms of connecting to it, in terms of connecting to the Sandbox, because they do provide a full Sandbox account experience, so that's all great. You can actually test your program, unlike some other APIs out there in the world where it becomes really difficult because you have to test with real accounts, which is very troublesome, of course. Here you have all the Sandbox experience you need, and you can do lots of things. Now, Wise is formerly known as TransferWise. You can create accounts for your personal and company needs. If you do need to create an account, take a look at the link below. It's a promotional link. You'll get some benefits there. And let's get started with this creating of the Sandbox account. For the Sandbox, you're going not to the wise.com, but you're going to rather sandbox.transferwise.tech. I will try to provide this link somewhere. Basically, we'll now register. I'll show you how the registration goes through this, and then we'll try to just retrieve some balances so you get the general idea of how the API connection works. And in the later videos, we'll take a look at some more specific cases, such as transfers and all that sort of stuff. Now, to register, you need to fill an email. You can do whatever email you want. It's not really being used as an email, so that's all fine. And they have this nice autofill email feature. Now, you do kind of need to remember your email, so if you do use this feature, it would be best to just copy, paste it somewhere so you have it written down and you won't forget it. So now let's go to next, and now let's see what we can choose which one account. Again, it depends on your development purposes, what you're actually doing. I will choose business. I think that's a more real-world example. And then you can choose your registration country, wherever you live, wherever you want it to test. It doesn't really matter. The same goes for the phone number, just like email. It is a random sort of number. However, I would suggest writing it down just in case as well. Probably won't need it, but whenever you're doing this sort of random stuff, even if you're not putting in real details such as email or phone, it's best to just have it anyway. So we have the two-factor authentication here. Let's send the verification. As you can see, it gives you 111. It's just to go through a process. This would be kind of like the real thing, but obviously we don't actually go through verifications and stuff. It's not a real account. Let's see if we can have a simple password. And it does work quite well. So now we need to fill in the details. Very simple again. Let's just do some email and some business name, right? This may seem a bit annoying, but then if you want to actually test the profile features, retrieving the balances and addresses, you'll see in the API you can actually retrieve addresses and all that sort of stuff. Not that I would recommend hooking our API up to that, but maybe you need that for invoices, so maybe you're building something that would handle your balances for accounting, you need to retrieve it for invoice purposes and all that sort of stuff. Maybe that would be helpful as well. So now it's creating the account. Now let's wait and we'll go to the next step. So it has finished now, and we have some test credit. You have some money right away. You don't need to click any more buttons to add more money or anything like that. And we don't need the API token yet. We'll get to that later. We could create it right now, but I do want to show you how to find those things in the actual dashboard. So we have the personal account. It does create a personal account for you no matter what you do. And we have a business account that we wanted to have. So let's go into testing. And you can do lots of different things. Yes, yes, yes. Continue. Okay, perfect. That's all great. And now we can choose some balances. So I would recommend choosing at least a few because you do want to test with different balances. Now, of course, if your project only needs, say, euros or only dollars, then choose one of those. But if you are planning to use a few different currencies, I would suggest testing with as many as possible, just to be sure that everything actually works, all the conversions work, and all that sort of stuff. It does take a bit of time to set it up properly, and as you can see, you need to enter all the kinds of dates and other stuff. But you also have a little nice button here, say skip verification. So we could actually do that, or we can go through everything, but I would just skip it because we get those random details. Again, if you want to perhaps test with something more specific, maybe you want to have some Chinese characters or something like that, you might want to enter your own details everywhere, but I would say just go through everything as fast as possible, because it does take some time to create this, and you'd rather be working on actual implementation rather than creating a test account. Okay, let's do this. It does take some time to do this, but it's all quite good. And now we can go in finally to explore the account. Now, the good thing with having a sandbox, of course, you can actually create several of them, so you would be testing several accounts at once, not just your one precious account. So you can have several users in your test environment, which always helps a lot because you can handle lots of different cases and find all these tricky anomalies. So that's what we have. We have a test account. This is going to be two balances. One is business, or rather profiles, I should say. So one is business profile and one is personal account. So we can jump into the personal account, and that's what we have. We have those two accounts. So if you go here, top right corner, and you have testing is business account, and then currently we have chosen the personal account. And then these listed on the top, we have the balances. So remember, there's a difference. We have profile, which is business, your personal. You can also have more profiles. If you have several business, you will have more profiles. So in the real world, you might have many of them. It depends on what you're actually using Wise for. But those are profiles, and these are balances. $3 million, 4 million Australian. These are balances. So this is important to remember, because we will need all those concepts a bit later once we actually get into the code, which is what we are going to do now. Now then, for some API interactions, what we want to get to here is retrieving balances for profiles. So this particular route we're going to use, and it's basically just retrieving some data. However, for this, as you can see, you will need a profile ID. Now, if you go to your Wise tester account, you might go here and you will see membership number, but that is not the ID, so that might be a bit confusing. That is not what you need. Now, going back here, you will also need a token, your API token, as you usually need for API interactions. So this can be found if we go to your account, you go to settings, then you reach this page, and in this page you have API tokens. After that, you just click add new token, and then you reveal the key by entering the password, and then you copy the key. So that's basically all you need to do to prepare for your API interaction. However, as I mentioned previously, we do need this profile ID. And in order to get this profile ID, you actually need to make another API call to actually retrieve the profile ID. If we go here, this is the route you need to use. You need to list profiles for user account. So these different profiles will be your personal, your business, and perhaps several other businesses that you might have. Now, if we just quickly jump into the code, we have this whole arrangement here. Let's expand this a bit more so we can more easily see everything. Right here we have a very basic HTTP client setup. This is where your token goes. your API token. Now you must add it like this. You have bearer, you have space, and then you have your token. This is how you must do it, otherwise it won't work. Then we just have a simple route. We get a sync. And as you can see here, I'm just gonna retrieve the raw data, basically turn it into a string and extract those profile IDs. Now, in your real world application, you will probably just want to use Postman for something like this. It will be a lot easier, a lot quicker. So you just add your bearer token, you put that route in, do a little get request, and you have your tokens. And it's actually going to be easier to copy in Postman. However, I do want to introduce a bit of that API interaction here as well. So why not do it like this? So if I now run it right here, we have a profile ID of this method right here. It will run and it will break on that. I'll just show you where to find those IDs. Let's do JSON. Let's do visualizer. You will want the text visualizer to be able to copy it properly, but this is where you have your ID. So you have your account type. This one is personal. And then you'll have some other stuff, your first name and all that. And if we go into the second one, we have business. So that's your business account. And this is the ID you want. You don't want the user ID, you want the ID for the portfolio. This is the portfolio ID, not the user ID. That's what you are looking for. And of course, you have your business names and all that stuff. So if you have several of these accounts associated to your API token, you will have access to all of them and you'll be able to retrieve them. Now I'm gonna just stop this here. There's no need to finish the execution on that one. And then we have the actual balances. So we have those keys. This is for personal, this is for business. And then once again, we have HTTP client, we have request headers, authorization, just like stated in the API documentation. We have the bearer token. That's all good, great, and ready. And then we have that route copied. Now, as you can see, this is pre-included already. If you had a variable somewhere, so for example, you have a string like that, this is basically very simple and straightforward, but I'm just gonna quickly show you. Let's do profile ID. Because remember, it is an ID, it's a profile, whatever it is, but it once you do retrieve it, it is the ID, not the user ID. That is a mistake that is quite easy to make. So if you just want to insert that like this, you can do close that, and just profile ID, and it will be inserted in this string. That's perfectly fine to use it like that. And then the balances will be retrieved. You do need this. You do need this standard thing just to have your balances. In the later videos, we'll have more stuff with the balances, retrieving different ones, specific ones as well. Because Wise does offer with regular balances, but as well as all the jars, all the saving stuff. So that might be a bit different as well. Now, to retrieve it, again, we use this and we have our model class. Now, this is empty, and this is what I want to show you, how to actually create this, because we are going to retrieve some data and we will have that raw data, but in order to actually have a C# object, we do need that model class, and we need to have everything listed and inserted. And one way to do this, of course, you could go to the API documentation. We can try it here. We have the balances and we have a balance object. So you could, in theory, just copy this and turn that into JSON, rather turn JSON into a C# class. But I always recommend actually retrieving the data from the API and then turning it into a class, because then you get that latest object, not this. Now, in some cases, some things might be omitted, so it's best to just compare the two and see if something is missing there, if something is missing here. Just compare those things. But again, I usually recommend just going through retrieving it and then using that JSON string to create a class from it. So let's just do that. Quite quickly we can do that. We have retrieve balances, so let's just go to the program and create that, and we will stop at some point, and we'll get that JSON string. So the result is success. If the status code is false, that's gonna be a bad request, so you're not gonna get any data. Unfortunately, you don't really seem to get too much in terms of the error, so it's not the best API in the world, perhaps, but the good thing about Wise API, we do provide that full sandbox testing experience, which is always great. It's better than any description you can get, it's better than any tutorial you could find. You can just do trial and error, something doesn't work for you, and it will work out at some point. So that's always a good thing to have. Now, let's go here. We have the content. Obviously, it won't be able to turn it into an actual object right now that JSON retrieved. What we need to do, we need to just get this, copy it, and then we will create everything. So let's stop it. I copied the text, the string, JSON, and I'm just gonna go back to the browser, and I'm gonna go use this tool. Now this one is called JSON to C#. If you Google for these, you'll find all kinds of options. Personally, this is my favorite. If I need to do something like this, I always use this tool. It just works the best somehow, and it's quite easy and straightforward to use as well. And it does actually work. Some of them don't really work all that great, so sometimes you might need to play around with that stuff, but again, I do recommend this one because it actually does work. So we get some classes for some of these things, and then we get this root. Now, we're not going to copy the whole root, we're just going to copy the contents of the root class, go back to the Visual Studio, and this is where we are going to place them. So balance data, obviously that turns up red, that's all fine. We now just need to copy the rest of it, and I'm just going to put it in the balance data as well. And it should pick up, and yeah, so everything works perfectly now. And unfortunately, as you can see, some of them do turn into objects. Some of them just gonna turn into an integer, for example. So if you have data that's retrieved as integer, so let's say you have 10, but it could be 10.5, you'll get an integer with this conversion. So you kind of need to test through a few variables just to see if you don't need to change those ints to doubles. Or alternatively, I just say change everything to double instead of int. You won't have to worry about it then. But again, as you can see, we have a name. It's a bit of a troublesome thing, the icon as well. So you might need to mess around with these things. Unfortunately, that's just the way it is. When you don't have a library for some API, you have to do everything yourself, and it takes a bit more time. But on the other hand, you have full control of everything, and that's somewhat of a plus as well. Now let's just get that, and we have everything. Now we have the balance data, and if we already have that all set up, I'm just gonna get rid of this, and I'm gonna do this and this, just in case something doesn't work. But I believe it should work perfectly, and we now have JSON result with 4 values. We did have 4 balances, and we get all the balance data in here. We have total worth, that does work perfectly fine. Reserved amount, we don't have anything reserved, so that's all good as well. So that's how you do it. We have a list. Now, of course, this is a list of balance data, but balance data is that generic object that you need to use. So this is the basic integration of Wise API. What you do need to remember, you get the token and you put it like this, bearer, space, the actual token. And then, of course, if you need a profile ID, which you will need quite a lot, you need to retrieve it via the API. It's not going to be that membership thing. It's also not going to be the user ID. You just need to retrieve it, and this is going to be your profile ID. Now, also, after the profile IDs, you have balances, and balances as well will have IDs for them. So you will be able to retrieve the balances. As you can see, IDs are all numeric, so it's all a number. But we have balance ID, and you can actually retrieve the balance as well, specific balance. If you want to do a little practice after watching this, I would suggest going into the balances and actually trying to retrieve with this particular route a specific balance. You need the profile ID, and then you need to have the balance ID, and you can try and retrieve a balance from your test account. And with that said, we will conclude this video.